In 1999, Paul Rouse was part of the Tyrone minor team that won the Ulster Minor League. In 1999, he also played for the Tyrone under-21s. In 2002, Paul won an under-21 championship medal. As the 1990s closed, we enjoyed arguably one of the most historic years of the club in terms of success. The ultimate goal, a place in senior football, was achieved on that memorable Sunday in September. The achievement of the 24 players and the management of Dixie Robinson, Declan Fox and Stephen McHugh, or perhaps the manner in which the championship title was won, will live long in the memory of all lucky enough to witness it. Having won the Tyrone Intermediate Championship, the Rose earned their place in the Ulster Intermediate Championship. On their way to the final, Brackaville beat two well-fancied sides, Ballyholland and Narossa. Then came the final, which paired Brackaville with St Michael's from Newton Hamilton. What a final that proved to be. It took 2 games to decide which team would win, and thankfully the great skill and determination that the Brackaville Own Rose team showed on those occasions was enough to win the Ulster title. That great day will remain in the hearts and memories of the Brackaville people forever.
Right, joining me now is the management duo of 1999. Unfortunately, Declan Fox, and all member of that brigade, cannot be with us today due to a bit of illness. But I'm joined here by Stephen McHugh and Dixie Robinson, and in what proved to be a very, very successful time in the club's 70-year history, without shadow of a doubt. And we'll start, Dixie. Maybe one of your first managerial appointments for a senior team.
It actually was my first ever managerial appointment. I think I just quit playing in the summer before that, and I think I remember right, I got hijacked out of Dungannon Swift's car park, believe it or not, by a black Mercedes, and I didn't know I was getting into the back seat of the boot. No, it was great, and I didn't know what I was letting myself in for, but a fellow Mohri man was one of the 4 men who hijacked me that night. It was Des Fox, and I threw my hat in the ring, and lucky enough I came out to get the job, and it proved to be very successful.
Now, Stevie, you were in as one of Dixie's assistants, and I tell you, it was to yield a very successful period for those. You're glad to be part of it.
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic to be part of it, and the learning it gave me, with them 2 boys and experience with football they had, it was a great thrill to be a management of that team. That team was a very successful side, and in the history of Brackaville, it was one of the best moments ever, winning the championship, the intermediate championship, and the Ulster.
We'll go back, Dixie. Probably like you must also remember we've come close to winning the league as well as the championship, but the final whistle in Oman, the replay match against Haryan, had to vindicate all your views and all the people that had a wee doubt about you.
Well, I can always remember coming into the club, and the cowboy used to sit in the top of the bar, and he used to say to me after the first game, he says, it'll not belong to the catch on the I'll be at the Boches roundabout shortly. So luckily that went on. I think if I remember right, I think it was 13 games we had unbeaten, so I sort of turned the tables on him. But I think we might have got sidetracked a wee bit with their championship run. And certainly it was down to commitment, and I think squad was a big part to play in it. And for the senior football that I played in Mohary, squad was something we didn't have. And in Brackaville that year, like, we had some quality players who weren't in the first 15, and I think that kept everybody on their toes.
Well, Stevie, you know what I mean? You're watching you on the line that night in the championship final. You're up and down and up and down. It had it proved to you to be a good time too to be involved.
It was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, the buzz was absolutely amazing, you know, and as I say, the pressure of the match, you know, as I say, the first match, the draw was absolutely heart-wrenching. We were leading, and then to come back and get Paul Rouse sent off, it was terrible. And as I say, then the replay to actually just obliterate them, we just destroyed them in every part of the field, and players just rose to the occasion, and I never ever had a party like it in Brackaville in my life.
Well, many's a party in Brackaville, but certainly it was one of the best. Well, you know, highlighting coming in, you went to San Francisco, you led the team out there and played a match out there too.
I played a couple of games out there. It was hard, and I did not take any drink the night before the match, but we got a couple of hours before the game, like, just to steady the nerves, you know. And I can remember, I think I scored a 50 in the last game, and I think we won an aggregate by a point.
The transfer wasn't through, by the way, at the time either, but however, I suppose one of the highlights coming that year was coming to play Killeen or play Oma in Dungan Senior Championship at return to Brackaville. Nobody gave us a chance, let's be honest. Maybe you did, maybe Stevie did. One of the best wins ever we had, and everybody behind us.
Well, I remember being down the town, and I nipped into the bookies, which I rarely do.
I never hear tell you been in there before.
And I seen that they had the betting up, and we were even money with a 4-point start. And I talked to quite a few experts down the town, and they all thought that you could get as much as you wanted in Oma because we hadn't a life. So that was a bit of motivation for the boys, and we used that as a tool. And luckily enough, we went out, and on the night we were superb. I don't think anybody would have stood with us that night.
Great night.
That was absolutely fantastic. A big blow just before the game. Kieran O'Hagan was sick and wasn't able to play, and we had to put a new full back in Noel Woods, and as I say, he played a dream of a game, and as I say, every player in the field played a dream of a game. It was such a thrill. The Kieran McBride's and that there of the Oma team, they were an established Tyrone team. They were in the final of the championship the year before, you know, and it was basically a big thrill for us to win, and as I say, great, absolutely fantastic for this club.
Scene set, Eden Dark versus Old Ravens Khalil. One of the best games of the championship that year. Maybe if we were to do things different, you could look back, but one of the big players that night was half-time come too early for us.
Well, I think that was right. I think we got a goal disallowed just before half-time for square ball, like, which in my opinion never was. And I think maybe there was a wee bit of lack of belief in a few players that night, and to go out and win a senior championship on any night, you need everybody tuned in and focused on the job in hand, which we were against Oma. And I just felt that 2 or 3 players on the night just didn't perform, and that let us down eventually.
Well, everything well worth it while, and you had a lot of years at it in management, and all enjoyable.
Very enjoyable, great time. Never had when Dixie them left. As Eugene McIver took over the team, and then he left, and I took it back over with Declan again. So that was a great time as well for the club, beating Drumore and Drumore, and very unlucky against Oma. And you know, them days were great, and hopefully we'll be back to them again someday.
Well, I'll leave it with you, Dixie, in the last words. Want to also thank you, because there were great times, good time to be involved in Brackaville. But as a manager, and for you cutting your teeth in that, and you know, you charted your course from an early day, you got the belief of a lot of lads that maybe hadn't got the belief before. All worthwhile.
I'm going to tell you, Sean, when you cut your teeth in management, I mean, I'd say 95% of men get a good kick in the teeth early at it, and maybe seconds them of it. But I took on a team that were progressive. They were on their way up. They're a good bunch of lads. The youth was coming through. I mean, to me, anybody could have managed them, but maybe we just brought that wee extra 5% that was lacking, and hopefully it stood the club in great stead. And just now, I'd just like to congratulate them on your gala night, and I hope that you go to every success, and wish the future management as much success as I had.
Well, Just going to say to Cowboy Wagon, unfortunately, when you get up the road heading for the roundabout, you have to turn off before the boats. There's only a lot we're going to drop them off, will you?
Oh, well, that'll do. Well, I don't have too far to walk now to get home, so I don't need lifted and led anymore.
Well, thanks, lad, for giving us the time and taking the time out. I know you are heading to the penitentiary right in the chapel here, and you need to get it, so we'll let you go. Thank you very much indeed. Remember, I'm sure mostly himself, but Tom was our first youth officer when we made our break away from amalgamation with St Albans in the early 80s. Tom took on the role when it's nurturing youth in Brackaville wouldn't have been an easy job, and making the breakthrough to define ourselves as standing on our own 2 feet at youth level. Tom, a man we owe a great debt to also in nurturing us, bringing on players and instilling a bit of belief in players that we had for the future. Tom, thanks for joining us here tonight.
You're welcome.
I suppose you had some great days, but it was a big task at the time, Tom, to take on the job.
It was. We had problems at different age groups, but 5 or 6 of the lads came really through. The rest were good players, but there was 5 or 6 were exceptional.
A great under-12 performance by a Brackaville team in Derry Thresh against Clonaux had a great satisfaction.
Really, one of the highlights of my career, and it was brilliant to see the lads. And you could have seen the potential then from the teams that come through right up to the Ulster team had won it.
Yeah.
And there was maybe 10 or 11, 12 of that team persevered and came through.
Martin early that day played well for you.
Brilliant stuff.
Unfortunately, went to lane.
Well, that was one of them things.
It was a great victory that day against the Clonaux team that was highly fancied, and as you say, it brought our youth on to no end.
It took us on 10 years, but we learned more in that game that stood till us in the later years.
Right. Well, I suppose maybe another great time was Arbo were out of a couple of county minor finals, and we met them in Derrylaughan in a quarter final on a night when all the Mayflies was out. You remember that game?
I did it do every time I opened my mouth to shout a swally and dozens of them.
One of our greatest victories also.
It goes down in Donald's and Brackaville history as one of the best minor teams.
Well, you had nurtured a lot of men from that. Cathal Hagan, our current referee, Declan Gillis, Jeffrey Gillis, Brian McGeary, Swift McGeary, good mate of yours too from other coaches.
That's true. I will not mention that.
But it gave you great satisfaction.
It was great to see.
Well, it's just unfortunate that you were beaten the semi-final Bahaloo.
Things got better, and we went on to win more trophies with teams, and those all lads come in, took over and done their duty.
Well, certainly then, when Brackaville's role of success did come in that period in the 90s, 94, albeit beaten in the junior final, but 96 victory, 99 intermediate victory, 2000 Ulster intermediate champions. A lot of the men that you had nurtured and brought through it had a great satisfaction.
Brilliant. It was great to see it, great to watch it, and I was really thrilled when the lads ran out.
Well, you still enjoy going to the games. You still do a bit of criticising after them, you and Pitchy Corn, a bit of praising when it's done, but you're enjoying it.
Number one table here.
Just right behind us.
Yes, it's all part and parcel, isn't it, of the club's history and whatever else you can dig in or throw in.
I want to thank you very much for giving up the time tonight, for I know you still swim round Rohan at this time of the year, you know what I mean? So thanks very much, Tom, and I enjoyed talking to you again.
I enjoyed it myself.
Well, one of the biggest projects the club ever took on actually happened outside the club. It happened across the Atlantic in California, in fact, San Francisco. And I suppose on Good Friday in 2000, when coaches pulled out of here en route for Dublin Airport, Johnny Corey, you were chairman at the time. It was the fruition of a lot of hard work by a committee, and to get really on the road had to be a big effort starting to move.
It was a great effort. The trend was set by other clubs in this area where they were going away on different trips type of thing, and Brackaville thought they'd be no different. So it was decided that special meetings would be held, bring all the members to the club and ask them for their views. And it was decided then from that committee that a subcommittee consisting of Pierce Kelly, Seamus O'Neill and Art O'Neill would put the wheels in motion, hopefully to make this a great success. And I'd have to say the three men in question, done an outstanding amount of work.
You know, you're on the road. Men have undertaken they're going to go on a committee to do the work. Then the work had to be done, Johnny. As chairman, you had to say, right, what does this project entail? And it did. I was on the committee at the time. I can tell you something now. The men that you mentioned done a lot of work, but it still had to be done every week. And when you're taking big numbers on board, and the amount of people that was going, it's a lot of organisation.
Oh, without a doubt. First thing, travel arrangements. Mrs. Sullivan, travel agent Culloden, was brought up here to a meeting. People are talked about passports, talked about flight tickets. Then the bank manager in Stewartstown was brought across about dollars, about bank drafts, about the amount of money you could take with you. People, some of the people in that trip was never at Ireland before. Some of them were never in an airplane. Holy Water, Rosary Beach were also brought.
There was no bother. You as a member of the credit union credit committee, you were always able to secure a loan for yourself going.
This is it. One of the main assets of this trip was that a raffle took place, and for every book of tickets you sold, that amount of money came off your fare. So it was a great initiative and a great drive for people to sell tickets, and it helped immensely with a lot of people that would have maybe found it difficult to raise £600.
Contacts were quickly established across the Atlantic as well, Johnny, which was a major help.
No doubt, Paul Campbell, a former playing member of this club, and his lovely wife Majella, who's right next door to me, they were the chiefs over there in America, along with Conor Lowe from Stewartstown, who played for Culloden Fena here, Seamus Ken, the nephew of my own, Joe Duffy, who was chairman of Ulster clubs, who originated from Armagh City. Those people done all the work on the American side. So when Good Friday come, we sailed for the far off shores.
Long sailing an airplane, but however we got there anyway, and you know, had to be the trip of a lifetime. I personally couldn't go, I couldn't afford it, but at the same time, you know, you went there. Some of the places you visited, and seemingly it was the trip of a lifetime.
Without a doubt, we arrived in San Francisco. There was buses there to take us to Cathedral Hill Hotel. There was a week of planning already had went into it. We took to the Golden Gate Bridge. We're taken to the Golden Gate Fields, a horse racing place, one of those stretch limousines. We're took to Twin Peaks. During Wednesday that particular week, we're taken on a tour of San Francisco, and the bus driver was also the guided man doing the talking, and he talked that in 1906 an earthquake hit San Francisco, and the city was flattened. At that stage, the Holy Water and the Rosary Beach were took out again, and he showed us all around San Francisco. One of the highlights, undoubtedly, was a trip to Napa Valley, where Paul and Majella now lives, and Mr. and Mrs. Stratner, I think that's the right pronunciation of the word, their name. They've organised a steak barbecue. It was an amazing day.
What about the trip to Alcatraz? You didn't think of staying in it?
No, but if I had you with me, I'd have certainly got you a cell.
Well, here, it was there, it went, it was an occasion of a lifetime, seemingly. But, you know, the men you mentioned, the committee, yourself as chairman at the time, it was something maybe, as you say, following a trend that had to be done. But, you know, all worthwhile.
Well, I was chairman, I had very little to do with this trip. I'd have to say that Shamie Pearce and Art, the amount of work that they'd done on this side, without their help, it could not have been feasible to do it. I'd also say that we played a match out in San Francisco, and
tell me this, you'd go back.
I've already been there. I've been back again in 2004. I went over to Seamus Kenning in 2004. I also visited Majella and Paul at that time too. It's a beautiful city. In it twice. Why not the third time?
The Rose to go back.
Without a doubt. Why not? We've done it once. We can do it again.
Johnny, thanks for giving up your Saturday. And I know you had a busy schedule, only coming back from Cheltenham, but thank you for giving up the time and being here on such a bad, miserable day and a bit of jet lag.
Thanks, Sean.
On Friday the 21st of April 2000, Brackaville broke new ground when the club set off on an historic trip to San Francisco. 117 people made the trip, which culminated the months of preparation made by everyone at home and the club member Paul Campbell in San Francisco.
Dick and Alison has put on this food free of charge to the Brackaville Football Club. These are Americans. The husband's a German, but that's his problem.
And I'm half Irish, thank God.
Thank you. But the most important thing is these people have been out of the way to help the people of Brackaville, you know what I mean, to give you a bit of comfort and a bit of hospitality here in America. The food should be okay. If it's bad, blame them, right? But I just want to thank Chris and her husband and her family for looking after the Brackaville Football Club and the community of Brackaville. And before we say grace, I think we should all say thank you to Chris and Dick.
Before we leave Paradise here. No! Mickey McGrath's going to run to the Brackaville National Anthem. Lovely Brackaville.
Yo!
You're going to do all happen.
Come on, Mickey. Oh, it's my furlong. I love you all to know. I would lie outside our little town, climbing down below. And when I reach the chestnut tree, my eyes with tears do fill. I've been no pain, sure home again in lovely Brackaville.
Come on, give him a hand.
Who's your daddy? Come on! Let your dogs prevail around Terry's Hill, or over Miriam's Hill. Take it nice and slow on the mill road, the lovely Brackaville.
Let's hear you now.
Oh, and if you are a stranger and seeking, well, you don't have to go to Old Arbon or even to Cooktown. When you've searched around, seen all the town, until you've had your fill. I just think of the names with the curly hair. Lovely Brackaville. A picture we haven't done. What if we'd not got our football team? We had nothing at all. A summer's evening when everything is still. Ah, we're quite content with the days and lovely Brackaville. Something our Ulster title.
In 2000, Brackaville were represented again on the Tyrone Vocational Panel by Michael McGeary. Michael won an Ulster medal that year, and the team were beaten in an All-Ireland final. 2000 saw Alan Fox, Paul Day and Patrick Early collect another set of Tyrone and Ulster medals, as St Joseph's under-16 team continued their success of 2 years ago. Three more of our under-16 squad were to taste All-Ireland glory at school level. Barry Fox, Dominic Ferguson and Patrick Early were part of the All-Ireland winning St Joseph's under-16 team in the year 2001. In 2001, our local school, Primate Dixon, had Ulster success, winning the McGreevy Cup, beating Crossmaglen in the final by a scoreline of 2-11 to 1-2. Brackaville Own Rose were well represented by having no fewer than 7 players in that team. They were Tomas Corey, Sean McNally, Eamon McGlinchey, Shane Cullen, Kieran Gillis, Kieran Gervin and Joseph O'Hagan. These players are all now involved in our senior panels. 2004 was a big year for everyone in Brackaville. It was decided that Tyrone would play hosts to the All-Ireland Féile. It was one of the most memorable weekends in the club. The Brackaville under-14 management was Paddy Gervin, Declan Gillis and Brian Ferguson. Brackaville hosted an under-14 team from Cork City called St Michael's. In 2005, the under-14s, managed by Paddy Gervin and Peter Gervin, won the under-14 league title, beating Nivora in the final after extra time. A couple of months later, Brackaville Miners were narrowly beaten by Nivora in a very closely contested game. Even though the lads were very disappointed, they lifted themselves for the championship final a couple of weeks later. This Brackaville team beat Clonagale in one of the best games of football seen at minor level for a very long time, managed by Kieran O'Hagan, Declan Gillis and Stephen Ferguson. In 2006 saw more success for the Rose, again at under-14 level. This time they won a Grade 4 league and championship double. This was a great achievement, and the full praise must go to the three great managers, Brian O'Neill, Mark McGee and Peter Gervin.
Well, joining me now is the current club chairman, Patrick Garvin, but in 2004, Patrick was youth officer, and what was to prove a very, very successful time. You yielded a lot of crap on them year. Paddy, 2004, good year to come in.
Yes, it was a good year, Sean. I came in 2004, and it was really a big year for me coming in there as youth officer, and especially coming in off the back of Tyrone winning All Ireland in 2003. It was a big year for Tyrone, and the club football was at a high at that stage, and then Tyrone got hosting the All Ireland Féile in the county, and each club was designated with a team from all over Ireland. And we hosted a team from Cork City called St Michael's, or Blackrock in Cork City. And I have to say, Sean, it was one of the best weekends in Brackaville that I even remember. They arrived here on the Friday evening, and right through the whole weekend. We actually had Austin Stacks up here on the Saturday as well, along with St Michael's in Cork and Carrickmore as well. And Brackaville, we played in a league section in here in Brackaville, and Austin Stacks went on ahead onto the next stage of that tournament. And we also had the president of the GAA here, Sean Kelly, at the time, and it was great to see him here on that occasion. Everybody mingled with him and got their autographs and photographs. It was a great occasion. It was myself, Declan Gillis, and Brian Ferguson was over on the 14 team at the time that was playing in that All Ireland Féile. So it was a great year for us, Sean, yeah.
Well, I remember on the Friday when we played St Michael's in the opening game, and when Around the Vein was played out in the pitch, and the way the pitch looked, and the crowd from Cork and the crowd from here, you know, it definitely was it. But also a highlight was a Munster final in Brackaville Field on the Saturday morning. It was absolutely brilliant. And, you know, the team that we were hosting expected to win, getting nipped by Austin Stacks, caused a lot of controversy, but hey, it was some occasion.
Yeah, that's right, Sean. It was a great game. It was a great playoff between those two teams. The crowd was there, as you say, the music that was provided on the day and all around the pitch. And I have to say that even the ladies excelled themselves over that weekend. The meal that they put up for St Michael's here in the club on that weekend was, you wouldn't have got better in a hotel. The parents, the whole community got involved in that weekend. The parents put up those lads from Cork, and also members of the community did as well. So it was, as I say, it was one of the highlights of my time as youth officer in the club, and indeed as a member of the club. It was absolutely brilliant.
Well, even on trips down to Cork and to Munster hurling finals, were always remembered by some of the St Michael's people that were meeting. Indeed, a few years ago, myself and Seamus O'Neill and John Hughes were down at the Munster final in Cork City, and the welcome we received was unreal. But there was a lot of effort put in, and I can tell you something now, it didn't do us any harm to the bottom end of this country, because we're still talked about down there.
Yeah, that's right, Sean. We're talked about all over Ireland for that there, and I was actually speaking to one of the members from Carrickmore who had rang me one night and said that they got a great email back from Austin Stacks, a team that we hadn't even hosted, but as I say, they came down that day and they couldn't believe the welcome that they got here in Brackaville from the men and women in Brackaville, and they're absolutely delighted. And we got great letters back from Cork as well, and as I say, it was absolutely brilliant.
Well, certainly one of the great things about the GAA is the friends that you meet, not alone in Tyrone but all over the country. But, you know, if you don't have success, at least if you make friends and you take part. But certainly your 10 years here, like, you had good success of a youth officer following on to the next year as well.
Yes, that's right, Sean. And the following year was 2005. Myself and Peter Garvin had good success with under-14s. We had won an under-14 league title with them. We beat Nivora in the final. It was a great match, and it actually went to extra time that day. And a couple of months later then, the tables were reversed on us. Nivora beat us in the final of the minor league, as you remember, down in Brackaville that night. It was a great game of football as well, and as I say, it was touch and go between the two clubs, Nivora and ourselves. It was a kick of the ball between us at any stage, and so we shared the honours that year, one at under 14 level and one at minor level. And then 2 weeks later, the minor team, coming out of that defeat, they were badly disappointed, like, you know, on being beat that night, but luckily enough they picked themselves up, and then they met Clonagale in Carrickmore a couple of weeks later, and it was, I have to say, it was one of the best games of football at minor level that I have witnessed, and people who were at the match as well, Carrickmore officials from throughout the county said it was a brilliant game of football. It went right down to the wire. I remember the last 5 minutes of the game, we were getting beat by a point, and we got a penalty. I think it was Peter O'Hagan was going through on goal or something, and pulled down, and we got the penalty on, and was a lot of lads just dubious enough about taking it under pressure in the last 5 minutes. But I have to say, my son Patrick there, he was captain that night. He stepped up, played a captain's role, lifted the ball and says, I'll take the penalty. And he put her away to the back of the net, put us 2 points in the lead. And in the dying seconds of the game, Clonagale got a free kick, 21-yard free, and I can tell you it was a very nerve-wracking last lack of seconds. And lucky enough, the fella, he went for a goal, but it just greased the crossbar and went over the bar. The ball was kicked out and we had won the game. And I have to say that I remember going into the change room at half time along with Declan Gillis and Kieran O'Hagan. Stephen Ferguson was also a member of that management team, but he was on holidays that night in Spain. But I have to say it probably cost him a fortune that night. He was on the phone the whole game, trying to just to hear what was going on. He just was so excited about that. He just couldn't stay off the phone for the whole match. And the team talk that Declan and Kieran gave at half time was exceptional. I never heard a team talk like it. And they just lifted the lads. There was no crosswords, no anything spoke. It was confidence all the way, and the confidence that they instilled in them lads at half time would have won any game for anybody. And I couldn't praise them lads enough.
Well, like I mean, talking to Stephen O'Neill, who was managing the Clonagale team that night, and I'd have to say, you know, what he said to the team, it has just lost an epic final, and it was an epic final, but I thought the words he said to me that night was unbelievable. He says, you know, we might have lost the game, he says, but there was one real winner tonight, and that was football. For anybody that missed that game, and even Arthur McKellen, the Carrickmore chairman, he says, I've been coming here sometime, he says, to see games like that in Carrickmore pitch was unbelievable. It certainly was a grand occasion, and, you know, everybody, even though you were beat, and you had to feel sorry for lads who are beaten in finals, but when you're coming down the road to the cup, it's that much sweeter, but it certainly was a great game of football.
Yes, that's right, Sean. I remember Stephen coming into the change rooms afterwards, like, you know, and congratulating our team. And for to be beat so early in a great game of football, he was so courteous in defeat, and Clonagale was so courteous in defeat that night. That and even for Stephen O'Neill, like Stephen O'Neill was heavily involved with Tyrone at the time. He was also a youth officer for his club as well, and took on a team at minor level within his own club. It just goes to show the commitment that fella put into his own club and clubs like him. And we're actually the same here too, Sean. We're very, very fortunate to have such good senior players within our club, and they put an awful lot back into our club as well at youth level. Like, you have to remember, those lads are out 2 nights a week on a Sunday playing themselves for senior football, as well as that, to give up their time for underage football as well, and put another couple of nights a week as well into that, plus maybe going during the week to matches and things. So I can't speak highly enough of the lads within our management structure at the minute, like, you know.
Well, you're up now, and you know, as you said to yourself, like 2005 came along, and success wasn't far away from us then either.
That's right. In 2006 then, Sean, we had great wins again for the under-14s again. Like, you know, Brian O'Neill, Mark McGee and Peter Gervin again at under-14 level instilled a great confidence into the team as well, right through. Brian and Mark had them at under-12 level and brought them right through. And with the experience of Peter Gervin and along with those other two men, they reached a grade 4 under-14 final at Championship and League and won the both of them. And it was a great double for those lads, and it was a great tribute to those lads as well. Like.
2007 was a great year for our under-16s, who won a Grade 2 championship. This team played Aglish in the semi-final in Omagh under floodlights in front of a senior championship game between Dromore and Cookstown. The game ended in a draw after extra time, and both Brackaville and Aglish got a standing ovation as they left the field. This was a very proud night for the Rose Club. Brackaville won the replay and went on to clinch the championship title by beating Nivora in the final, which was played in Donegal. The success of this team was due to a great team effort, and the great team effort from their management of Peter Gervin, Conor Dorse and Damien Gervin.
Right. We're matching up right up to the present day, and even up just up to last year, and jointly again this year. We're joined now by two people very much involved with the youth in Brackaville. Last year's youth officer, Mrs. Anne Gervin, and now this year's youth officer, Declan Gillis, but they're still jointly working with others, so you're very welcome here tonight, and thanks for joining us. We'll start with ladies first. Anne, first lady youth officer last year. Wasn't a bad year to come in?
No, it wasn't. It was a great year to come in. We had great success with our under-16s. won the championship, Grade 2 championship, so it was a great year to be the youth officer in the club.
Well, you know, I'd have to say, even your own son Stefan's performance a couple of times was a bit heartwarming for you too. Your heart had to be in your mouth and all the time as a parent.
It was, and I could have shouted plenty, but I try not to.
You have to show example, but I suppose on the road to winning that, the game, the semi-final, the drawn match with English in Oma before Dromore and Cookstown in front of 8,000 people, had to be some night for you and the lads, of course.
It was a fabulous night. It was a great night for the whole club. It was a great honour for the team to be asked to play before such a big crowd. The match was fabulous match, and for any team or for any two teams to get a standing ovation off a field before a senior football match was fabulous. But it has to be one of the highlights of the entire year that night.
Me and Mickey Hart sent him after the Cookstown the Moor game. He said they should have played the Brackaville English match first, for it was the superior game, and Paddy Hunter and Q101 radio said it should have been the game broadcast live. But it led on then to a semi-final replay in Eden Dark, so it was a tough game also.
It was equally as tough. It was a long drawn out year for the under-6 teams. We thought they were never going to be at English at the end, but eventually they overcame them in Eden Dark that Saturday morning and went on to beat Niamh in the final, so it was good year.
Good year to be in.
Yeah, exactly.
Along with me here is Declan Gillis, who's give a lot of service from, I go back to 1990. You played along with your dad, Brian McGeary and his dad, Sean Dillon and his dad, Newton Stewart, so that's 18 years ago, so you're giving away your age. Declan, the future lies in your hands and going to be a big year for you to come in with what you have and what was achieved last year. What way are you going to go about it?
Well, I think as a club we're spoilt in the last lot of years, and now it's really back down to the drawing board, back down to the under 8s, under 10s, start working with them again, build it back up, you know.
Well, big year also for the club with the work you have done in the cardiac research zone, and coming out of a great, I suppose, Paddy Coleman and Stevie McHugh, but a great drive by the club to get this highlighted. Give us a wee insight into that, because we got a lot of coverage about it.
Well, it got very scary, the amount of young people dropping on fields and stuff like that there. It got too scary, and we just decided to do something about it. Our own, we didn't want it happen on our own doorstep, so we just decided to do something about it.
Well, we've certainly took the lead, and a lot of our clubs have taken up the gauntlet from that. But you're managing a team this year yourself?
Under 12, so.
You're modest, but youth officers are over them all.
Just keep an eye on things, but back down to the drawing board, like I said, and I think under 8, under 10, under 12s, under 14s needs a lot of work. Numbers needs building up, so that's what we're concentrating on.
What's it like having a woman for a deputy?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad.
What's he like as a sheriff?
He's absolutely fabulous.
Well, I want to thank you very much for the time and your effort. It's not an easy job handling young people in this day and age, so long may and continued success to both of you in the incoming year. Thank you. Now, but one of our strong men on the playing front, Paul Rouse, who has expired as a player for this club in a couple of key positions. That's a matter for debate from time to time, where you're a full forward or a midfielder. But Paul, thanks very much for taking the time out on a busy week of Sigerson to join us here tonight. Paul, thanks for the interview, as I say, but you've good old memories playing for the Rose here, and you're still a young man yet.
Oh, plenty of good memories, Sean. From when I started playing back here when I was a young lad, right through it, was first started with the seniors back in '98, and then obviously winning the championship in '99 was probably the highlight so far, with an Ulster and Tyrone championship in 1 year.
Well, you know, when you think about that '99, good year, minor championship secured against Derrylaughan and Killeashill, played a pivotal role in that yourself and Micheál McGeary, and then a few weeks later, intermediate championship, and as you say, club intermediate championship to follow. Had to be good times for you as a Gaelic footballer.
Well, at that time when you're just starting out as a Gaelic footballer in your club, and you think that just winning championships just comes second nature. At that stage you were winning one week and then another the next week and then winning an Ulster the following year. You just thought this was the way the ball rolled, but in the past few years we've come harder to come about, so hopefully we can start the ball rolling again.
But you've seen a big transition to what the players will have now. You're now seen as an older statesman. You're putting a lot of your time in. You've coached a minor team, an under-16 team. You're back with a minor team here this year again. Plus, the modest man that they are, you forgot about the fact that you won an Ulster minor medal in '99 with Tyrone and an Ulster under-21 in 2002, am I right?
Well, you'd be right, Sean. I won a Ulster minor league in '99 and then a on the Ulster Championship with under 21 2002, and it was good to play for the county at that stage, and especially at youth level to carry the club colours at county level.
You were part of Mickey Hart's plans up until early this year. Like, and you know, last year you rewarded Dr. McKenna Cup on an Ulster Championship medal with Tyrone. So, like, still a lot to offer.
Well, I'd hope so. So maybe take a year out and back to the club this year. Maybe get back at it next year again.
Well, the club has taken a direction now with their youthful senior team management, and I suppose we're up now in our 70-year history of right up to the present day. But, you know, what direction do you see us going the road with young players and yourself putting a training programme together, plus the youthful management of a house, all argues well for the future?
Well, I'd hope so. At the minute, people looking in from the outside, looking at our club, see a very youthful setup, especially with under 14s doing well over the past few years, under 16s excelling, minors excelling, with the minors for the next 2 years now competing at Grade 1. For the next 4 or 5 years looks bright. It's hopefully now with the young management team we'll have in place, we can start something going and get it going.
Well, Grade 1 arguably the place you want to be with your minor team, because you're going to learn when you're playing in the highest grade, and a lot of hopes and all would avail of these lads. But certainly your own role, as I say, you're Ulster Council Development Officer, you're very much involved with Jordanstown. As I say, this is Seagerson week and the weekend about to take off. You're spending a lot of time to Gaelic games, so, you know, where do you get this time? And I suppose you're glad to be doing it, or sometimes maybe you're not.
Well, at the end of the day, Gaelic games was all my life was about, my spare time, so it's great to be involved in my work. But as you say, it's just good to be part of something, and especially bringing it back to your club through work and the experiences you have with work and the connections you build with work. It's all important to bring it back here to your own parish.
As a member of the GPA, like, you're still very much in the amateur ethos here in Brackaville, so Desi Farrell mightn't be too happy.
No longer a member of the GPA, Sean, no longer a member.
Well, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out from a busy schedule that you have this week, and I know there's a few inquiries going on at higher education level after this weekend's tournament with the Garda, but I'm certain you'll be there for Jordanstown this weekend, sorting out and trying to get the tournament, so thank you very much. Right, well, women now, Stevie, no gala will be complete without silverware, and I suppose the last bit of silverware at adult level was last year's reserve final against Toddy Ray and Clare. On your own as manager, a mixture of an odd old one and an odd young one and an odd in-between one, and the likes of Brian McGeary talking about packing it in, Collie Ferguson Jr., captain of the team. Tough old game, one of the best games we've been involved in a long time. Had about a bit of satisfaction in it for you when we won it.
Absolutely, it was a brilliant game. To say Tatty Ray with the team in form, top of the table, had given us a lesson up in Tatty Ray. We went out into it. We knew we had a good enough side. We knew we had a strong team. What we were looking for was just the effort from the lads, and on the day the commitment, and they gave it. And as you say, the boys, the older ones as they would call themselves, the Brian McGearys and Collie Fergusons and the Connor Doors, you know, they shone on the day for us, and we ended up getting a great victory.
Well, you know what I mean, there's a lot of preparation in reserve teams, not easy run. You have the mixture of the men that want to play, and you have the men that don't want to play, and you have the men that's on the verge of senior team, and then after a while they say, I'll just knock in with the reserve. So to keep that going on itself, but the run in the championship was bound to help you.
Oh, definitely, because whenever we at training, it was mostly reserves right at the training, and I have to say the commitment from every single one of the panel was absolutely immense, you know, because every one of them put it in. And as you say, if you're in a championship and you're running for a championship, the enthusiasm's there from the players, and every single one of them gave the commitment. They were at the training sessions, and it paid off in the end, getting the result we got.
Well, going away from the Right. I suppose as we're near the Gala, and the Gala launched at a while back, and when plans were put in place on the poster that went out, and it was a pretty good photograph of people on the motto of the Gala, which was remembering the past and looking forward to the future and joining us in the journey. And one of the people's photograph in the poster was Cathal O'Hagan and his daughter Niamh, who at the time was the youngest child about here, so that sort of gave us a base for where we were going on with our father, the current referee in the club, and having links back to playing right up to last year, in fact, with the reserves, and on Sundays when he wasn't refereeing, he was available for selection. So it was, as I say, a nice thought just to give him an interview here as current referee goes, and he's given up his time just coming here from refereeing a match this morning to give us a few minutes of his time to interview us. Cathal, you took up refereeing for what reason?
I think, like every man that's a referee, I was at the wrong time at the wrong place. And John McGuinness had quit refereeing, so the club wanted to keep 2 referees, and you were a current referee, and I was asked what to do it. And at the time I was still doing reserve football, playing a wee bit, so I thought I'd do youth. But then you get suckered in, and then men ask you to do this and do that, and you don't like letting people down. But that was 8 years ago now, and it only seems like a flash. But when your footballing's career's as limited as mine was, maybe it was a good option to stay involved in the GAA, stay involved in the club. But since that time, starting to enjoy it, and now having watched a man within the club referee, maybe took some of his bad habits, took a couple of your bad habits off you, seem to be getting on all right at it anyway.
Well, I suppose I have no bad habits. I'm disappointed you saying that one, like I says. But, it's been pretty good to you. You've refereed the intermediate final this year. It was a big stepping stone for you, and you've been out in the Ulster League. But you're still enjoying it, you say. But you have a second ball in the house now and everything else. And maybe things not be easy getting out, and the abuse maybe not the same, Maybe you're glad to get out.
I think at the start, you're glad to get out, so you took the abuse. But now anybody says to you, you just say, I can be out places. I can get enough abuse, in all places without taking it here. But you enjoy it, and yourself. You get to meet a lot of true Gaels up and down the county, and even outside of the county. And these men, they're there every time you go to a club, and you see the same faces. And even the football is good, and you're seeing good standard of football, and it definitely keeps you involved. And you have maybe an opinion on a club an man mightn't have because you've seen them 3 or 4 times, and you get to see it gets you out there. But like you say, you need a bit of time in your hands. The commitment for time can be absorbing at times. But when you're getting something out of yourself, you don't mind giving it. If you're getting nothing out of it, it'll be all going one way. But when you're getting something out of it, it's well worth the effort.
Well, I'd have to agree with most of them sentiments, I suppose. But I started refereeing some of the. I'm not going to say many years ago, but it's a good bit, and it was simple as well. We're playing Toddy Ray one day, and Cuthbert Donnelly was refereeing. We got a free kick, and I took it quick to Noel Gillis. John Hughes was manager of the reserve team. I'm near certain, and big Noel stuck on the back of the net, and next thing Cuthbert can't take a quick free, blew it back. And I'm not going to use the language I used them. I would have said for say Cuthbert, you was refereeing Tyrone, and he called me over to the side and took out his notebook. And he says, right, Old Charmin Wednesday night, there's a meeting for new referees, and you be there. So there you be. So that's what had happened.
And even you've done the junior final then this year past there, and you've done a number of finals now, haven't you? I suppose, well, not that you've got a long career, but over your career, you're certainly. It's not as if it doesn't seem to be a case where your career's on the dip. You seem to be getting more high-profile games, and maybe inter-counties. Colin, what do you think?
Too late, 15 years now. When I quit the inter-county a lot of years ago, I was glad to get away from it. But it's enjoyable. But as I say, I'd say this looks like retirement year when the club is celebrating their 70th. I think I'll buy out at the end of this year. But however, some good days, some cracks, and you meet, as you say, some good friends. But it's good.
I always remember that, one of the things you always say, it's all about the players. It's about the players and about the safety of the players and the respect of the players, and I bear that in mind when I take the field. There's the rules, and surely the rules are there to be applied. But basically, if you're going out there with the players' safety in mind, and the respect for the players, pretty much every game just goes on ahead, and you end up enjoying it as much as anybody else.
I agree. I think the players are the most important people playing the game, and if you get on their side, okay, some things you can let go. Common sense will tell you that or prevail.
Tell an odd yarn, maybe you get on their side, or an odd lie, and then
Well, it has to be done as well. But I'd say one of the things that you can get on board and get out of it is if the players know you respect them, and as I say, they are the most important people, and when you get them with you, you can nearly get away with anything, because refereeing's got too technical. There's a million fouls, there's a million rules, there's written down, you're running about going to do written tests and everything else, and no, basically, there only is a lot of fouls in football. You can't hit them on a box in the mouth or a kick, and you can't bounce it 2 or 3 times, and you can't run all day with it, and basically, that's after a lot of common sense. So, thanks for giving up your time. And I'm going down here. I'm off the beer and lunch, so we'll maybe get a pint with at the Gala.
All the best.
Right, it's the 16th of March, the day before St Patrick's Day. Bright, sharp, cold morning, and we just caught up with the end of a Brackaville training session here, and a big move forward this year. We've decided to go with management from inside the club, and we couldn't have got 3 better men than we have now: Kieran O'Hagan, Brian McGleary and Tony Kierbury, and Stephen McHugh, who'll probably be around later, but as usual he's still busy and about trying to get something done, so we'll probably talk to him later on in the afternoon. But the men have just put the players through their paces, and at the minute they're embarking on a new season with a couple of friendlies players, and as I say, for young men who probably all should still be playing, and probably some of them will, it's a big undertaking. So I'll start off with Kieran. Big season ahead, Kieran, dibbling into management.
That's a big season ahead, but you have to take it one step at a time, Sean. We're a very young panel coming through, a lot of minors coming through. We are sort of viewing this season as starting with the basics, starting progress. We're not setting no high mountains to achieve or nothing like that. It's starting gradual process, and hopefully we'll take it from there. And you know, as long as we can see the players improving, we'll deem it as every game as a success.
Brian, you've been the same view, but you've been known maybe not as gentle with the players as Kieran over the years. What's really your toll on this as well? I suppose you're all singing the same hymn sheet, but big undertaking for you also.
Big undertaking, surely, but when you have good men to help you, and a few odd people maybe give us a wee shot now throughout the course of a year. Like, I think we're not far away. Like, and what we're trying to do is just improve gradually. Last couple of years, maybe we've sort of underachieved a bit. We've let ourselves slip. So no, there's a lot of good lads. Are a good minor team, and like the rest of the fellas aren't that old that they can't give us another 3 or 4 years. There's boys in there the 25, 26, 27 age. There's 3 or 4 good years left, and if they look after themselves, right, you know. So no, we're very hopeful.
Seeing a slant and you're looking after yourself, right? You're passing this on to the rest of them.
Oh, I no drinking at all. No drinking at all. Drink ban on early in the year.
Well, I know I'm on involved with these boys. Tony Kierbury, I see you running about with sheets of paper and taking stats, but your under 14s won yesterday and you're enjoying management.
A good win, like as you said, under 14s doing well. The good youth team's coming through, so hopefully we can feed them through on the senior team. So in the next few years, hopefully we can get a good team out of it, maybe.
Glad to see you involved with a senior team, but what's all the rating about?
18 you rating on a lot of reserve teams.
You're enjoying management?
Good, I'm enjoying it so far. 2 good men, or 3 good men.
That's maybe the main thing is playing the thing for you. But Kieran, on a weekend it's maybe tightened for the head of Eddie O'Sullivan after Ireland's performance in rugby. You know, I hope that you have a 3-year contract signed with the Rose here this year.
Oh, they got a few get-out clauses along the way. Don't you worry about that. We'll not be stuck hand dry.
A difficult year ahead, but you know, it's a big year. The redrawing of the leagues in Tyrone, people's going to be looking in their position. It's going to be a tough year in every division. So you have your plans all sorted out.
Well, Division 3 would probably be deemed was one of the toughest divisions in Tyrone this year. A lot of good intermediate teams have come down into Division 3, and we sort of view this year that it's all about possession. It's about not giving the ball away, about holding on to possession. If we don't give the ball away and we keep possession, then ultimately we're in the right driving seat. But it's going to be a very tough league. A lot of some county men coming down from the intermediate football too. It's going to be very hard. Not only are we dealing with teams coming down from intermediate football, but we're dealing with competitive, strong, physical teams that were in Division 3 last year. But it's going to be a step up. Every man's going to have to take on the challenge, ourselves included. We're going to have to think harder and plan harder and prepare the players a lot more steadfast for the games ahead.
Well, Kieran has charted his course from there, Brian, but you know, as he says, Ahalou a couple of years ago, senior, Strabane a couple of years ago playing in a senior quarter final. They're all back down here and what's going to be probably deemed a dogfight.
No, it's going to be a tough division. There's no doubt about that. You have Strabane, Drumquin, Ahar, teams that have been at a junior football's last number of years. They haven't been in junior football, have been playing at a higher grade. Definitely going to be a stiff challenge, but it's up to the lads to rise to it, you know, and I'd be fairly confident now. Like I have seen a bit of an improvement from the start of the year. If we can look after ourselves, we're not worried about anybody else.
Good point. Tony, what do you think's going to plot out for this year?
Well, we've good honest lads are, like, we're training them hard, but they're doing a wee bit with themselves as well there, you know, and it's all what they do themselves too, you know, it's going to make that wee bit extra, a wee difference, like, hopefully for us, so hopefully it'll go good.
Well, with the league not far away and you have 3 men like this, and as I say, going back to basics is a start, and I suppose when you look at these 3 men giving up their time and retaining management within the club, it all argues well for the future. Good luck to the 3 years over the year, and I hope that get-out clause is going to be looked at in about 5 years' time. Thanks very much. You're involved with this year's senior management. What's your hopes and your thoughts, along with Mercers, McGeary, Carberry and O'Hagan? Your bra-in-law, you going to keep it in the family, or are you going to fall out with him?
I'll probably fall out, but the way I'm looking at it this year is a building year, and we've kept the management within the club this year, and basically we're going to build. We've got a very, very strong youth coming up through. We have senior players coming to the end of their career, and as I say, the balance is just getting the balance right this year, making sure that the young ones are properly and are not burnt out, as the saying is going now at the minute, and basically just give it a go this year.
There you are, you have it here from the horse's mouth. We're just going to wind up on, I think maybe this DVD's also going to wind up for the season. Want to thank you for giving up your time, and indeed I might add everybody else that give up their time to give Paddy Gervin and myself these interviews, and for Paddy to taking the time out. I have enjoyed doing it personally, but I tell you, I hope we're not doing it again, because in 70 years time I'll not be around, you can get somebody else. Well, thank you all very much for contributing, and Stevie, the last word, win or lose this year?
Oh, win.
There you are.
At the end of our 2007 campaign, our senior team remain in junior football, but with the great management team of Kieran O'Hagan, Brian McGeary, Stephen McHugh and Tony Kerber, coupled with a very talented bunch of experienced and young players. Let's hope it will not be long until we are on that great success train again.
You're now chairman of our club, and you're leading us now into a year of our gala, the year of our 70th anniversary. Big job to undertake, to be leading the club into a big year, because a lot's expected, and as a former chairman myself, if you don't deliver, you're always remembered for not delivering. But there's a lot of weight on your shoulders, but everything's going well, and I'd wish you well as been chairman this year, by the way, but you're putting in a big effort yourself this time.
Yes, thanks very much, Sean, and yes, it is a big undertaking for me as chairman this year. And as I say, like, you know, even as a player back, I joined the club in '76, like, you know, as a minor, and right up through the ranks, and made the senior team and that, and went right through it. But I think it's very important that you put something back into the club when you finish playing, like, you know. And as I say, I took on that job as youth officer. I've done my best, and I'll do the same now as chairman of the club. I'll do my best, and that's all you can do, Sean, at any level, like, you know. But I have to say, we've got a very strong committee in there at the minute, a great working committee, and who will do anything for the club. And as I say, we've great parents there, you know, involved there at youth level. They come and they help out, they come to matches and things like that there. And if you get the whole community involved and let the people see what you're trying to do, I think we'll do all right. Like, you know, and as I say, we've got our own men in now, management, our senior team this year. And there's 4 lads there giving up their time as well. There's Kieran O'Hagan, Brian McGeary, Stephen McHugh and Tony Kerber, like, you know. And if you look back over the years, Sean, I would say that most of our success would have come from inside the club as opposed to outside managers. No outside managers came and went and have done their best and things, but if you look back over the history of the club, I would say there's an awful lot of wins that came, even at youth level and senior level, from within our own club. And I would wish those boys all the best this year. And I know they're coming in at a time where we're sort of starting to rebuild again, like, you know, and with a lot of youth coming through our minors there now. So it was back in '94 when we reached junior final, and we're a very young team at that time too. A lot of the minors was coming through then, and eventually moved on to '96 when I won a junior title, and then on to intermediate success in '99. So I think at this time now, you could see history repeating itself, and hopefully it will repeat itself within the club here, and we'll move to greater things again. Like.
It's an honour to be chairman of the club, but you still have to work your ass off, you know what I mean?
Oh, well, that's right, Sean, it is a great honour, but as you say, you have to work very hard, and you have to be impartial at all times, tell everybody and treat everybody the same, and as I say, Sean, all I can do is my best, and I'll be judged on what I do at the end of the year. And hopefully
there's big rumours going about at the gala when you make your address that any man on your committee, you're taking them away for a weekend and they'll not have to buy nothing all night. Is there any truth in that?
Well, I suppose, I don't know, but me paying for it, like, but maybe you'll chip in yourself there, we can see what we can do, like, you know. So, as I say, I know, but I hope everything goes all right on the night, Sean, and I hope we've a great night at the gala. And as I say, like, you know, not only for the people that's involved at the club at the minute, but way back in 1938 when the club was founded, like, you know, I'm sure Matt Simon maybe didn't realise what he was taking on at that time, or what he was starting, like, you know, and you know, right through from 1938 right up to 2008, there's an awful lot of people who got involved in our club, and it's through their hard work and commitment, like, you know, that this club is to where it's just not only the people that's here today, but it's their hard work and commitment. Like, we have heard stories ourselves, Sean, as we're doing the various interviews there. Teams that, as men said, teams that tugged out onto trees, onto chestnut trees, and turned their boots upside down and to keep the water in them at half time. And then when you get on to the fine facilities that we have here today, like, and I think that there was an awful lot of hard work done here in the 1970s that formed our base for the club. Like, you know, we've got our field here, we're playing in different fields, and we're very appreciative of the different clubs that let us do that at the time. But when we got our base here, I think this club really took off from that there. So it's down to the hard work and effort of those men in the 70s that put the big push on in this club. We were more or less just carrying on the example that those guys have set us, and they've set us a very big example, and we have a lot to keep up with at the minute, but we'll do our best.
It's still the work to keep you involved, because there's so many other things to turn young people to other things, and it's men like you, from youth officer right now to chairman, you know, and you got to keep chipping away at the block.
Yes, that's right, Sean. You actually have to sell your club now at the minute, like, so you do, because there's a lot of other interests out there. There's golf, there's soccer, there's all sorts of things out there at the minute, and I'm not taking away from those other sports. Everybody's entitled to play their own sports, but we have to sell our sport here at the minute, like, you know. And I have to say the county board in Tyrone are doing an awful lot of effort at the minute there. Whenever I came in here, 2004, and then in 2005, there was a new youth officer came into the county, was Kieran McLaughlin. Kieran, to me, is an exceptional man. He done an exceptional work there between him and now Kieran McHugh's in as youth officer as well this year. And those men have a great working committee there as well, like, you know. And they have set the tone for the county at the minute, like, you know, and they're very, very professional in their approach, and it's up to us as clubs to keep up with that approach, like, you know. And if we do that there, things will be okay, like.
Well, the man is always as a rebel to county boards. I still have to agree with you on this one, but for a statement I got to finish off, you must be looking at a county chairman in the near future as well.
Over the years, Brackaville Own Rose have been lucky in terms of stalwart committee members. People like Pat O'Hagan, who has been involved in some of the major developments in the club, Johnny Curry, who joined the club as a mere teenager, Al Malloy, Ned Morgan, Charlie Manile, Brian Manile, Mickey Hearn, Pete C. Corr, Peter Coleman, Bernard Mallon, Seamus Brady, Owen O'Neill, Jim O'Neill, Art O'Neill, Seamus O'Neill, Pierce Kelly, Francie Talbot, John Talbot, John Hughes, Stephen McHugh, Noel Gillis, John McGuinness, Oliver McGuinness, Sean Quinn, John Early, Sean McGeary, Brian McGeary, Johnny Gillen, Paddy Gervin, Mickey McGrath. The services of these men is greatly appreciated and will never be forgotten. Having reflected on the Brackaville Rose journey from 1938 to the present day, Latoya Sweeney will now sing Lovely Brackaville, written by her grandfather, Seamus Sweeney.
There is one place grand in my townland I want you all to know. It stands outside a little town, Coal Island down below. And when I see that chestnut tree, my eyes with tears do fill. For I feel no pain, for I'm home again in lovely Brackaville. I know they have a football team, they haven't got a hall. They haven't got a picture house, them lads have nothing at all. But every Sunday evening they stand and talk their fill, for they're quite content with an evening spent in lovely Brackaville. Now if you are a visitor and want to get a view, just take a walk by Eden Dork and come round by Lisdoo. Let your thoughts prevail down Derryville and come over Mary Nails Hill. Take it nice and slow up through Mill Row to lovely Brackaville. We've had our share of immigrants who had to cross the sea to tread the shores of other lands to seek prosperity. But they're always in our memories and hope someday they will return back home and never more roam from lovely Brackaville. Now if you think of marrying and going to settle down, why travel to Dungannon, boys, or even to Cookstown? For if you're keen on a wee calling to make your heart stand still, think of those wee maids with the curly heads in lovely Brackaville. And now to conclude and to finish off my song, I dearly hope, I sincerely hope I haven't said anything wrong. But no matter where I wander, I shall always love it still. God bless them all, both big and small, in lovely Brackaville.